payment platform, my GHPay is just what you need. With my GHPay, you can make or receive payments online using a MasterCard or Visa card, mobile money wallet, or bank account. To make your user experience even more exciting, we have new features, push notifications, in-app reporting, new services like your data bundle purchases and box office subscriptions, GHQR payments, security features like Face ID and fingerprint login. My GHPay is simply Pinks. For business owners, now's the time to get on board and take your business global. Simply download my GHPay from the Play Store or App Store and enjoy easy payments and collections anytime, any day. For more information, call us until free 0800 124 000. My GHPay, buy, sell, connect. And it's Puma Drinks time, where you grab yourself some chilled bottle for proper enjoyment. Yeah, Puma Drinks. A whole new vibe. For bulk purchases, you can call 0262 351 251. Puma Drinks, another quality product from Casa Preco Company Limited, and this ad is FDA approved. Kofi Hayford has got the latest 411. What's up, Kofi?
Lexus Bill.
Yes, sir. How you doing, man?
I'm very well. How are you?
Nice, I'm good.
I heard someone calls you Lexus Burr.
No.
I was saying no. How do you know? I'm telling you. You're saying no.
Nobody does.
Lexus Burr.
It's you. It's you who do that.
I'm going to reserve my comments.
You don't have any comments, my guy. Nobody calls me
You are
Lexus.
doing my top. But how was your weekend as well?
It was a good one. How was yours?
Oh, it was great. It was restful.
Nice. That's
thankful,
good.
Yeah. And I actually went to see Latif Abubakar's play.
Ah, that's good.
So,
Life is a dream.
Yeah, so I had a great time.
Good stuff.
Anyway, on Showbiz A to Z last Saturday, Uncle Ken made an interesting revelation. You know how, we went from recording with live instruments, playing the guitar, getting the full band to play, all the instruments and composing songs, moved from that to Fruity Loops, to Cubase and what have you. Now technology keeps evolving, and Uncle Ken fears that there will be a time when there will be the extinction of live instruments in music making. Let's listen to him express himself.
I am only worried whether there will come a time that musical instruments will become absent from songs. I don't want that to happen, because there's nothing like going to watch a musician playing music on an instrument and showing you how good he or she is. The pleasure is immense when you see people, playing their instrument with such dexterity. I would miss that, and I just hope that we don't get into a time where all the instruments will vanish from and everything will be at the touch of a button from a computer or whatever.
I never really thought about it, Lexus, but I think he has a very good point.
Of course, it's not far from that time, actually.
Especially now that, AI is in and
Exactly.
I don't know if you heard about Ice Cube saying that he would sue anybody that uses AI to
he mentioned
compose.
that.
Yeah, but I think Uncle Ken really has a strong point.
Yeah.
There'll be a time where you go for live shows and it'll just be miming or maybe just rapping over your own beats without any guitarist or anything. It's going to be sad. I don't think I want to see that as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, let's see how it all goes. Efia Nocturnal is next on our bill. Few weeks or maybe a month ago, she was on one other station to talk about the fact that she never knows Black Rasta, our own Black Rasta. But she was on Asempa FM, our sister station, few days ago. An interesting turn of events is that Ifya says she knows Black Rasta very well and he's someone he can never, ever forget.
There is this issue. Okay. Now, do you know Black Rasta?
Oh, yes, I will never not know that man ever again in my life. I will know him every day, forever and ever. And I pay respects to him for his job and everything he does. Yeah. You
got to know him after the issue
You know
came.
what? I mistook him for somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why. But it's okay. I don't want to talk about that or make it deeper, because this one, they are going to use this one.
I hope you were not hurt when.
She was right. They are going to use this one. We have used it. What I think the host did well by asking her that question, if she actually got to know Black Rasta after the incident, or it was just an oversight. But yeah, she has clarified that matter. And now on to cues and lyrics. Look, if you're not watching Joy Prime on Sundays 8:30 p.m., then you're missing out on a whole lot. Because I've spoken about this a whole lot of times. Cues and Lyrics, a beautiful a musical show where you have 12 budding contestants showing us their musical prowess. Now, Udine becomes the third contestant to drop the microphone as he exits the competition after 7 weeks. And also, TM Music won the best performer for the first time. And so it keeps going on and on. Let's listen to what happened on Cues and Lyrics.
For your mercy never fails me.
Thank you. You're a very good performer.
Oh, how you feel about what you provide inside that home.
I have a problem with your low notes.
Together we are going to better home.
There was a little bit of a struggle in when you were hitting your highs.
You still have to go back there and work.
Pray for me.
Right, so that's what happened on Cues and Lyrics last Sunday. Make sure you catch it on Sundays, 8 p.m. Weekdays, a repeat 11 a.m. on Joy Prime, and it's sponsored by Syntex Tank and the Ghana AIDS Commission. That's all we have for you in our showbiz on Drive Time. There's more on my Joy Online as well as Joy Entertainment social media pages. Tonight, I'm back on your radio with the Overdrive.
All right, thank you so much, Kofi, for updating us. Now, so with just a simple tap of your Visa contactless card, you can breeze through payments at your favorite stores or anywhere else and enjoy a sweet cashback reward. Charlie, if you haven't started tapping to pay with Visa, you're definitely missing out. But no worries, head to your bank to request a Visa contactless card so you can start tapping and earn some cool cash back. Tap to pay with Visa. You can visit Visa_GH on Facebook and Instagram for more information. I'm Lexus Bill. Thanks a lot for spending time with my team and I. It's been a really good. I'm Lexus Bill. Thanks a lot for spending time with my team and I. It's been a really good Monday. Call in tomorrow. I'm back on your radio at 1 o'clock, sitting in for Sammy Forsen on Ignition and, of course, on Drive Time as well. Thanks to my team, Adam Nate, Philip Naya, Beku Stankofi, Anita Tem, Robert Johnson, Chris McKay, Oliver Fanyo, and Abdul Wadud. Enjoy your evening. Top Story is coming up next with Evans Mensah. Stay tuned in.
We are not going to do that. But this is not also different from what we have been doing.
We hear from Labour as they schedule an emergency meeting for Wednesday.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. Tonight, Labour unions are bracing for a battle with government following government's commitment to limit wage increases and hiring as part of the deal to secure the IMF $3 billion bailout as part of plans to ensure a balance between burden sharing, productivity and capacity to pay public sector salaries. According to government, it is undertaking what it describes as wage moderation to achieve the target of saving 0.5% of GDP. Now, this is contained in the Ghana 3-year program with International Monetary Fund to achieve fiscal discipline and return the country back to economic growth. The document also says wages of public sector workers will be calibrated to ensure a balance between burden sharing, productivity, and capacity to pay. Labour is tonight reacting to these details, and we understand that they've called an organized Labour meeting for Wednesday to further deliberate and take a firm position on the matter. But in the meantime, before we hear from Labour and many of the reps of the unions, I want to bring in my colleague Kojo Brace. Kojo, we've been referring to these clauses in this program. Let's return to some of the key ones that will be a subject of consideration by Labour when they meet.
Now, so if you look at this document that we have, it's talking about the fact that they will work on improving the efficiency of public spending over the course of the program. It says the effort will be underpinned by a comprehensive public expenditure review undertaken with the World Bank and expected to be finalized by September 2023. Statutory funds whose spending could be efficiently undertaken by their respective MDAs will be phased out and their activities will be merged with those of the latter. The government flagship programs, including One Village, One Dam, One District, One Warehouse, and Infrastructure for Poverty Eradication projects, will also be reviewed and streamlined. Agenda 111 will be reprogrammed to be completed over 5 years, 2022 to 2027, in line with budgeted allocations to give from ABFA for health infrastructure. Wages of public sector workers will be calibrated to ensure a balance between burden sharing. So that's what it is.
Burden sharing, productivity, and capacity to pay is how he ends it.
Yeah.
And the important bit here is that this part is under the we will work government's commitment to the IMF, indicating that they will work to improve efficiency of public spending over the course of the program. So this is all under the efficiency of public spending. One of the things they're committed to do is the wages of public sector workers will be calibrated to ensure a balance between burden sharing, productivity, and capacity to pay. And we're getting some reaction from Labour to this. But this is not all that government is committing itself to doing in this document.
Exactly. Now, they're also talking about primary expenditure, which they say will be reduced by 2 percentage points of GDP, mainly by one, lowering capital expenditures through project reprioritization, providing around 0.9% of GDP of savings. Again, containing the wage bill by limiting wage increases and hiring 0.5% of GDP. So that's what they are looking at saving. Now, they're also looking at rationalizing goods and services spending that would get them a savings around 0.3% of GDP. And 4, reducing transfers to statutory funds through a reduction of the cap on the share of revenue that they can receive. So they are looking at saving around 0.4% of GDP. They again say that all of these measures that we've spoken about will be supported by steps to strictly tighten expenditure commitment controls of both MDAs and statutory funds.
And the important bit for Labour there is the commitment to contain the wage bill by limiting wage increases and hiring, which obviously has been the key subject for them. Now, there's been a lot of talk about whether or not we can expect a freeze on hiring. I mean, which has been one of the key things that Labour, even before the IMF program was agreed, had said that they will not tolerate. I mean, last week when I spoke to the Minister of State of the Finance Ministry, Dr. Mohamed Minadam, he was very emphatic that as far as a freeze on employment is concerned, that is not something that government will do.
There is nowhere there is a statement that there is a freeze in employment. We are not going to do that. But this is not also different from what we have been doing. For the past 2 years, recruitment in the government side have focused on the security agencies and teachers and then also nurses, etc., etc. And these are critical institutions, and the job they do also very critical to our development efforts. And you know that the recruitments are backed by financial clearance. That is when government is able to finance their wages, then the clearance is given. And so that will continue as and when we are able to do that. But there's no explicit decision that there will be a freeze in employment. And so to the extent that we are able to manage this recruitment and also the clearance, we should be able to contain the wage bill. Also, if you monitor, over the last 2 years, recruitments into these sectors that I mentioned have been massive, have been unprecedented. Whether you are talking about the security agencies or you are talking about the health professionals and nurses and teachers, more than 2 million people have been recruited into these areas. And therefore, even if you are not able to recruit sooner, you should have the numbers that will be able to support these institutions.
I want to bring in Professor Ransford Jampo. He is with the University of Ghana, UTAG, and joins us on the line right now. Hello, Prof. Thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Hi, Evans. Thanks for having me.
I mean, so the IMF program is finally here. We're reading the details in the program document. One of the key things that relates to labor is, quote, government has committed to containing the wage bill by limiting wage increases and hiring. And then secondly, there's also a commitment on the part of government that wages of public sector workers will be calibrated to ensure a balance between burden sharing, productivity, and capacity to pay. Fair?
Well, let me say that all IMF measures, beginning from the introduction of the structural adjustment program, came with austerity measures. Now, the days of the structural adjustment program witnessed several social and political backlash that led to many attempted coups, which eventually kicked in the formation of structural adjustment participatory review, where the views of labor and identifiable groups were solicited to make the impact of the structural adjustment program more tolerable. So, the point I make is that all IMF programs would come with some austerity measures, and people must brace themselves up for some of these measures. But we expect austerity measures that will be shared, not the ones that are likely to heap or shift burden on poor labor and then allow other appointees, other officials of state, allow them to be freed. So generally, I've read the document extensively, and I have seen those ones that border on labor. But the point I'm making is that, number one, government take note that no organization, no public sector hires just for the sake of hiring. You hire because people may have gone on retirement and they have to be replaced. A bit about calibrating wage to ensure a balance between burden sharing, productivity, and capacity to pay. I don't know where I'm coming from, because speaking as a labor unionist from the teachers' fraternity, teachers have oftentimes produced the nation builder, and yet their reward in terms of salaries have never commensurated what they have done over the years to produce a type of people who are building for us. And so I don't understand that. But generally, let me say again that we expect austerity measures, but these measures will be appreciated and accepted by all if the burdens are shared equally. You do not want to anticipate a situation where the politicians feel that they can cleverly shift the burden to the poor, and then they will be left off the hook. If we must all suffer, if there is some suffering, if there is some endurance, let us all do it. And there are so many things that the IMF document did not talk about. And I'm surprised it appears our own people also never spoke about some of these to show or to give indication that they themselves are willing to share the benefit in addressing our problem. First of all, our country, we have governed ourselves in a manner akin always fetching water with baskets. The leakages, slippages that arises as a result of corruption, I mean, are known. You don't need a player to come and tell you about the impact of corruption on our public expenditure and all that. Yet, in their recommendation, I'm certain that the government itself would submit other practical and proactive interventions. They said that they are going to implement the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan. A document that is highly bogus. It's been around since 2014, and politicians have paid lip service to it. And so telling me that they are going to be implemented begs the question, because all this while it's been a white elephant. Again, nobody spoke about illicit financial flows. I was thinking that this will dominate some of the conditionalities. Proceeds from the extract sector remain low. I've always said that we get about 5% royalties from our production of gold. We get about 13% from the production of oil. Why haven't we negotiated or renegotiated to ensure that we'll be able to get more? I've said that Colonel Muammar Gaddafi in Libya negotiated such that in his country, when oil was produced, he took 70% of the proceeds. So what is wrong with this? So if we can't do it, the IMF also failed to tell us. No problem. How about taxing the extractive sectors enough to be able to raise some of the needed revenue so that labor, poor labor, whose taxes have always been used to provide comfort for politicians, would rest a little?
Yeah, I mean, so to be clear, you're saying that for a provision such as limiting wage increases, you are willing to accept that your wages will be limited, the increases will be limited, provided the government will show proven evidence that you're also carrying their share of the burden.
Is it that you are going to reduce salary, or you are talking about salary increase freeze? Because we've had agreements with governments that have been signed that would require that this year some salaries will have to be adjusted. And so what happens to those agreements? The other bit I want to talk about is that it's so disappointing that the IMF, staffed by officials whose countries are run by small-sized governments, either could not tell us or they failed to tell us that we should respond or respect the call, local and international call on us that side. They didn't tell us. And in my view, if some of these things are done, they would point to palpable demonstration of sacrifice on the part of government, such that if you call on labor to also sacrifice, then we may rethink our position. But when there is no sacrifice, the government will not be allowed to go scot-free to tell us to tighten ourselves, whilst it would eat with its officials and loosen their belts. We will not agree. So government, in its attempt to implement some of these conditionalities that directly impact on labor, to brace itself for some form of tug of war.
I mean, Prof, please stay with me. Let me bring in Austin Game. He's a labor consultant, has been there in government himself as a employment minister at the time, many of the occasions that we've been to the IMF, and he joins us now with his thoughts on this. Mr. Game, thanks for your time. You just heard Professor Jampo UTAG, UG, make the point that government should brace itself for a tug of war over some of the provisions in this program, that limiting wages, but also calibrating the salaries of workers based on capacity to pay, burden sharing, and other key indicators. This was anticipated. We've been through this process before, but if you look at this the wording of the documents that we are currently reading and understanding, do you see any departure from what has been the norm in the last 16 programs we've been? And I know you've been there working, helping labor navigate this process.
Yeah, thank you. I think that is, truly speaking, is a burdensome document that have been produced. highly, highly burdensome. But it's surmountable depending on the quality of the conversation between labor and management. Obviously, when you come to macroeconomic conditions, they are controlled strictly by government. And because of this particular aspect of it, because of the very minute sharing of information with labor in particular, maybe left this gap. Taxes and levies are controlled strictly by government through parliament by any means, as we all know. Forest management is in the hands of government. Inflation is controlled by government. Cost of living generally by government. General business environment by government. Now, government has the authority to employ or not to employ. What they should have done from a professional point of view is to engage labor at a tripartite meeting. Fortunately, we have a very conducive labor law under Section 113 of the Labor Act. They're supposed to call a meeting at tripartite level where it is not about take it or leave it situation. It's about having conversation of the importance of the economy, reference to burden sharing and related matters, so that all of us will be on the same common beach.
Are you suggesting the government, just to clarify, are you suggesting the government should have presented this to Labour for a discussion and agreement before presenting to the IMF?
Of course. That was exactly what happened in 2015 at Ho, and eventually at Senchi. I recall I saw you there, and eventually we went to Takoradi for a feedback. So it's about the people. It's about people. It's not about government. It's about people. It's about stakeholders. And so we are talking about managing people professionally. Even if you are in a partisan political office, you still have to work professionally. That is how it's supposed to be. Because this thing is totally in the hands of government, they should have called a national tripartite meeting and share information as under Section 97 and keep open the channels of communication with labor. They didn't do it well. And now, if you are calling for burden sharing, that is why people are saying what they are saying. But I would say that it's not entirely too late, even though the documents have been circulated, we all know what the content is. Yet, those things that are within the control of government, for instance, there is a way to do tax burden sharing in a certain way. Regardless of the IMF kind of conditionalities, there is still a way. If you are going to be increasing utilities every quarter, who can bear it without adjustments? At least government working people. But we all do know that government itself do not have the funds in totality, but that is the condition in which we find ourselves. So they must have a meeting as quickly as possible with labor, and labor must go there with the intent representing people. That is what it is. Let me ask you about the importance of the national economy.
Let me ask you if you can give some brief clarity on this clause, which Professor Jampo, of course, raised questions about because it lacks a bit of clarity in terms of how do you measure the elements that is being used now to calibrate salaries. It says, for example, government has committed now and that it will negotiate public sector wages in a manner to ensure balance between burden sharing, productivity, and capacity to pay. I mean, from where you say there's an expert in this area, when you read that clause, how do you interpret it?
That's why Section 97 of the Labor Act comes into prominence. You have to share that information with labor without hindrance. That was exactly what happened in 2015. Even they shared information to the extent that even grants, total grants of the country was shared totally by the Mahama administration. So in effect, if you don't share information in totality and there's a little bit of darkness hanging around and there's no illumination in the room, everybody will say what they want to say.
So you're suggesting the government should immediately engage labor and begin a conversation. Please stay with me. Let me bring in the Vice President of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Justice Yangsing joins us also. Dog, thanks for your time here on Top Story. Of course, I know labor, you've been anticipating this program and also the details in this document. Now we have it. Pretty sure you've been perusing it. What's the position, if you've adopted one, from the GMA on some of the key elements that will affect your members going forward?
Well, Ivan, so let me put it this way. For us at the GMA, we have not released any official position on this, largely because we think that a chunk of the provisions that affect labor will require that we have some engagement with the employer or the state for that matter for some clarity to be brought on some of these issues. And as Mr. Osingame rightly said, there is a need for all of us as social partners to engage and make sure that we work at this in a manner that labor will not be disadvantaged. That is very key, because any position that would disadvantage labor and unduly overburden us definitely will not be acceptable by labor in its entirety. So the issue of engagement to strategize and plan the way forward is really important. And that will also mean that there should be full disclosure on some of the actions that government intends to take. Thankfully, I heard Minister of State at the Finance Ministry say that, well, issues relating to job cuts and non-employment and what have you will not be acceptable to the government of the day. We hope that that in itself becomes the position, because for a sensitive area like health, we don't think that issues relating to, say, job cuts or non-employment of, say, doctors should be on the table, because our healthcare system is actually not robust enough to support the state of affairs as it is now, and we need more hands.
Talking about what you just mentioned, specifically, the document says there will be a commitment to contain the wage bill by limiting wage increases and hiring. So there'll be a limit on hiring. Are you suggesting that whatever limit there is should not affect the health sector?
Well, I mean, history is there to guide us. Look, you can check all the previous IMF engagements and structural programs that we have signed on to. Even look at just the last one before we got into this. A key area like health was totally exempted. There was supposed to be a net freeze on employment generally, i.e., only those exiting are the ones to be replaced. But that clause did not even apply to the health sector, looking at the very fragile nature of our health system and the fact that we are highly under-resourced when it comes to the professionals who have to deliver the service. So clearly, the precedents are there. Our, position as a country in terms of how good the numbers are when it comes to doctor-patient ratio, nurse-patient ratio, and all that. We haven't even gotten to the basic minimum as set up by the WHO. So clearly, the health sector is vital. Of course, what is more important than health? And as they say, the health of a nation is the wealth of that nation. If the people of within the state are not healthy, who will even work to ensure that there's productivity and what have you? So what for us is clear is that irrespective of the limitations that will be brought to bear, health as an essential service should not suffer that fate. And especially when it comes to recruitment of doctors, we don't think that there should be any freeze or any, in quotes, restriction in whatever form, because what we have on the ground is not adequate. Mind you, health professionals, especially doctors, it takes a long time to train and get them to a certain level. Meanwhile, there's competition from outside of our shores because people are recruiting day in, day out. If you decide not to employ, you open the floodgates for people to just immigrate out of the country, and that will even worsen our plight as a country when it comes to healthcare delivery. So the health sector, as far as we are concerned, will not or should not be touched in any form by any structural arrangement that will come to bear when it comes to employment.
Individual labor unions, have they been given the opportunity and right to consult and take individual positions, or organized labor is going to adopt a collective position on this program?
Well, I know organized labor is going to have its own engagement on the state of affairs. As to the final outcomes, i.e., whether we'll have a collective position or some strategic segment of labor may have to come out with specific bits. That one, for me, I think it's a bit early. But the long and short is that what I can foresee is that labor, be it at a general level or at the sectorial levels, will state its position on some of these things.
Thank you very much. Professor Jampo, thank you very much. Dr. Yang Singh and also Austin Game. Definitely, all of you affected, many, I believe, especially if you work in the public sector. Share your thoughts with me, 055-1111-997. You've heard the representatives of Labour articulating their views on the IMF program as it affects you. On PM Express there tonight, we're going to be looking at how the program affects the financial sector, your banks, your savings and loans company, etc. You want to join us for that news night in a minute.
Ever visited a shop, picked a whole basket of provisions, toiletries, and very essential things you need, battled a long queue to finally pay, only to be told you can't pay to a merchant number? The way that thing they pay, but with Vodafone Cash, there is no problem. Now on Vodafone Cash, you can pay all merchants on all networks. Easy peasy. Straight. Direct. Sharp. From your Vodafone Cash wallet to any merchant number on other networks. So whether you are buying provisions or fuel, medication or food, whatever the service or need, just pay conveniently from Vodafone Cash to any merchant number. Simply dial *110# to make payment to merchants on other networks today.
Vodafone.
Wouldn't you prefer an apartment hotel? One that offers the utmost convenience of a boutique hotel while offering the idyllic comfort of your own private home. Oasis Park Residences offers luxury studios, 1, 2 and 3 bedrooms both for short and long-term rental at competitive rates. Our sky swimming pool, gourmet outdoor restaurant and a fully equipped gym rest on a breathtaking rooftop with panoramic views of the city. Oasis Park Residences, located at Shiashi, Tetekwashi, 10 minutes from the international airport, is the ideal place for all your accommodation needs. Why don't you give us a call on 020-4343-009 or visit our website at oasisparkresidences.com to make your reservations. Oasis Park Residences, more than a home.
My name is Nana Ansah Brown. Many people think I get what I want anytime because I am popular. No, that is not true. It is because me and Kasano, I like the best, and when I find it, I stick to it. I have found Bell Pack Tea Roll, and I'm stuck with it. It is soft but not weak, strong but not hard. It is just perfect. Bell Pack Tea Roll is smooth and gentle on the skin. Same as Bell Pack Kitchen Towel. It cleans in one wipe. You can soak, squeeze, and clean again. One Bell Pack Kitchen Towel lasts longer and saves you money. It's time you switch to Bell Pack today and experience the perfect paper tissue, say pocket tissue, table napkins, tea roll, and a kitchen towel. Paper chow. Bell Pack is simply the best. Bell Pack, just perfect.
To be a Bell Pack distributor, call 055-11-44400. Another quality product from Bell Aqua.
Nothing feels so good like Bell Pack.
Good evening and welcome to News Night. In the next 60 minutes, after nearly 7 days, aggrieved Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana, JUSAC, momentarily suspends an indefinite strike that brought justice delivery to its knees across the country.
The strike is only suspended, but not called off. If government does not show the needed commitment, we shall advise ourselves.
We'll get to hear from the NLC and the Labour Ministry as a striking group gives them 2 weeks to conclude negotiations. Also tonight, minority in Parliament demands a new budget from the government, insisting content of the 2023 budget cannot be relied upon following agreements with the IMF.
Because you have no budget for 2023 is gone, you must ask the simple basic economic question. How is Nana Ansah going to finance the 2023 budget? Not through revenue, because there will be no new revenue measures.
Plus, how long will we continue to pay COVID-19 levy even though it is no longer a national health crisis?
The COVID health recovery levy that was introduced to help fill some of the expenditure holes might not be the most popular tax, but I entreat all of you to bear with us.
Be a president of your word. Let the Ghanaian people trust you. You cannot continue to just insult the Ghanaian people and take them for granted. It's totally unacceptable.
We have details as President Akufo-Addo's last update, which centered on COVID-19 and the path to economic recovery, has been described as uninspiring.
Also tonight, the NDC is fighting the Attorney General over his letter to the Speaker of Parliament asking him to declare the St. North seat vacant to allow a by-election to take place. The party describes the action as strange.
We find it very strange. On one end, the Attorney General is running with such a same judgment. The party as MPP is in Asim Central when Parliament have not declared a seat vacant.
We'll hear from the leadership of the minority in Parliament.
Well, in business, IMF clarifies proposed tax review captured in Ghana's economic program.
And in sports, Black Stars defender Tariq Lamptey says he's optimistic in the potential of the current crop of Black Stars players to end Ghana's long wait for a title.
Also tonight, killed in the line of duty or a carefully planned and executed murder. Family of slain immigration officer Philip Morty skeptical about the outcome of the service's investigations into his death.
Now, what happened that Easter Monday was not an accident, was a carefully designed, properly planned and duly executed barbaric, cruel and gruesome act of murder.
Also this evening, Nigeria's former President Muhammad Buhari says cattle and sheep are more difficult to control than Nigerians as the country inaugurates a new President, Bola Tinubu.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow to fly to my base and go back to my cows and sheep, which are much easier to control than fellow Nigerians.
That and more in tonight's edition of Newsnight. Please do well to join us with your thoughts and comment. It's via WhatsApp 055-1111-997. I am MFA Apao.
And my name is Evans Mensah. We start tonight from the courts. And MFA, you know, in the last few days, justice delivery had ground to a halt because the Judicial Service staff of Ghana, JUSAG, had declared an indefinite strike tonight. In the last hour or so, JUSAG has decided to suspend its indefinite strike, which had severely disrupted the dispensation of justice nationwide for almost a week. The decision to embark on this strike was prompted by the government's failure to address critical matters, including salary review and other pressing work-related concerns affecting the members. Now, following several meetings with the government, officials also of the Labour Commission, the association has agreed to suspend the strike, during which negotiations with government will continue. And they are warning that, listen, we are not calling off the strike just yet. Here is the president of the group, Samuel Afototu.
That the ongoing strike be suspended for 2 weeks to pave way for engagement among parties in order to fast-track the consideration, approval and payment of the new salaries in the month of June 2023. JUSAG and the government representatives therefore signed a memorandum of understanding, commit the parties to sincere and amicable resolution of the issue within timelines given. In the later part of today, JUSAG also had a meeting with management of the Judicial Service under the chairmanship of the Acting Chief Justice, His Lordship Justice John Doche. Also present were the Deputy Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, representing the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations, the incoming Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Araba Gertrude Tokonu, and others.
Well, already the group is warning they will resume the strike if government does not keep its end of the bargain.
The strike is only suspended but not called off. If government does not show the needed commitment, we shall advise ourselves. We wish to express our appreciation to the Acting Chief Justice, the incoming Chief Justice, the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations, and all stakeholders for their intervention.
Well, let's bring in the National Labour Commission. Let's speak to Ms. Ofusu Asoma, who heads the commission and joins us on the telephone line right now. Ms. Asoma, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. You're just listening to the news right now that JUSAC, they have temporarily called off their strike. From what we're hearing, this is just an interim measure pending what they believe to be some negotiations to go on. If that fails, they may return. When do you expect to, get back to the negotiation table to deal with the substantive issues?
Yeah, actually, when they appeared before the commission, they were given 2 weeks to go and negotiate. That was when the Ministry of Employment was unable to convene the meeting for the negotiation. They appeared before the commission last week, and the commission sought to give them another 2 weeks. That is what angered them, and they went on strike. However, it was the directive of the commission that the ministry convenes a meeting between the JUSAC themselves and the other stakeholders and try to resolve it and report within 2 weeks. So what has happened is in line with the commission directive, and we are happy that it has happened that way, that they have called off the strike. And the law provides that when negotiations are still going on, a party cannot be wearing red bands, be on strike, or do anything that would be intimidating to the other party with whom it's negotiating. So the calling off of the strike, which they have described as suspension, it's in consonance with the law.
But I guess that the real work begins now. They've already warned you that this is just a suspension, that if the parties fail to agree, you're returning. So I guess the real work begins tomorrow.
It is one of semantics or vocabulary that may be used to describe an event, depending on what the law knows, that you're either on strike or you have called it off. The law further provides that during the period of negotiation, as is going on between them, the ministry and other stakeholders within the 2 weeks they have given to themselves, the law does not permit a party to a negotiation to be on strike, to wear red armband, or to threaten or intimidate any other party with whom they are negotiating. So certainly one cannot be on strike during negotiation. So what I have done is in conformity with the law and with the directive of the National Labour Commission. And all I can say is that we are happy this has happened, that all of us are respecting the law and allowing the law to operate.
I know you've said that the words they've used is semantics, but you know what Labour is capable of. I mean, the last few days, justice delivery in this country effectively ground to a halt here.
Yes, certainly, if they are in charge of justice delivery and they are on strike, to come to a halt. If doctors go on strike, medical services in the government hospitals or wherever they work will go on halt.
I guess my question is,
if we in the Labour Commission decide to go on strike, delivery of cases at the commission will be on halt.
My question is considering, yes, you say it's nothing new, but the impact is pretty severe. What is the Labour Commission's commitment to ensure that you use this period to resolve the issues within the time frame that you've given yourselves?
Yes, our commitment to resolving the issue is directing that the parties should engage like they have done today, and that we gave them 2 weeks from last Wednesday. So they are within the time period given them to engage and try to resolve the matter. Failure which the commission would then be compelled to go into compulsory arbitration. Where there's a strike which lasts for more than 7 days, the commission shall take over the decision and then refer to a compulsory arbitration. So we have given them the 2 weeks. By the grace of God, within 3 days, the negotiations have begun. The strike has been suspended, as is best described in the time being. And it is our only hope that they are able to resolve. Government does its part. JUSAC also does its part. And then at the end of the day, we are good to go. But if the negotiations break down and JUSAC decide to be on strike, or any of the parties decide to take an action, then the commission would then have to exercise its powers.
Respond to their concern that in the talks preceding the strike, they allege that the commission has been biased against them and that there's a certain breakdown in trust between themselves and yourselves.
Well, these allegations have often been made by parties appearing before the commission, depending on against whom decision or a directive goes against, or where their expectations fall short of the commission's delivery. You know, it happens even in court. People win cases, they are happy. People lose cases, and then they blame the judges of having corrupt, collective bribes, and so on. If it rains, the farmer is happy. The hunter is unhappy because he's unable to go on hunting because it's raining. It happens. I mean, so it's just one of those things. But the most important thing for now is that negotiations have begun. The strike has been called off, and then it is our prayer that we are able to arrive at a negotiated settlement, making all the parties happy.
Mr. Samoa, thank you very much. Officer Samoa heads the Labour Commission. I want to bring in Bright Rokubobe. He's the Deputy Employment and Labour Relations Minister. Mr. Rokubobe, thanks for your time here on News Night. Have you met JUSAG already following today's, you call it a suspension, with a warning that he may resume if you don't resolve this? And what's the plan to deal with this matter in the 2 weeks that they've given?
Well, good evening, Evans, and good evening to cherished listeners. Yes, today we've been able to broker somehow a temporary measure to the whole issue. And we hope that the 2 weeks we've given ourselves will be able to work within, and then calm will be restored on all fronts forever.
And their demands, is it that you are committing to satisfy all the demands that they put before you?
Well, for us in the Labour Ministry, our job is a cut-out one. My minister, when he heard of the strike action, immediately commissioned that we sit together. And today he himself chaired the meeting. And our objective was to try to talk them to the extent that they rescind their decision on the strike, because government is showing commitment to engage them. And I must congratulate the leadership of JUSAG. They saw a genuine commitment from government because Finance Ministry that is advising the president had indicated that if even they want them to start the negotiation tomorrow, they were ready to do so. Based on that, we took their word, they took our word, and that's how come we have this MOU in the meantime for the next 2 weeks. So we have relayed this message to the Finance Ministry, which is the technical wing that will be meeting with them. So the details of their meeting will be fashioned out by the two when they start engaging tomorrow. So let's all be optimistic and hail the fact that we've been able to together work with them for them to go back to work, and justice delivery will not be grounded. And so tomorrow, litigants will go, people who want their contracts will go to court. Everything will be done, and life is going on. And this is what we appreciate, and we are trying to congratulate all parties for having worked together in good faith to come this far.
You talk about optimism, Mr. Rokubobe. Stay with me. Thankfully, Samuel Afotil, too, who is the president of the association, will join us pretty soon. We can now speak to Abdullah Yakubu. He's a JUSAG General Secretary. In fact, he had been instrumental in the conversations today and joins us right now. Mr. Yakubu, you just heard the Deputy Minister say we should all be optimistic. Are you optimistic going into these talks that your issues will be resolved in the next 2 weeks based on the commitments that you've heard already from government that I guess convinced you to suspend the strike?
And thank you. Good to you. Good evening to Honorable Speech Minister and our President, the President of JUSAG. Today, when we met at the ministry, they indicated to us the processes that the approval process has gone through. And upon looking at how far government side had advanced, I'm sure that today, even if we were not on strike, government would have been willing to engage us today for it to start. They indicated that Finance Ministry was available to engage us, even if we wanted to engage them tomorrow. And from the look of things, the commitment from the government side was something good. However, we could not have also called off the strike like that. So we decided that let's have a compromise. We would rather suspend it for 2 weeks. Within that period, if what we have seen is the commitment government is willing to go by within those 2 weeks, we should be able to finish the necessary consideration and approval process for payments to be done to staff in the month of June.
When you say payment, is it a complete salary review?
Yes, it's a complete salary review.
And what's the percentage you are asking for?
The proposal we submitted was 55% for 2-year period.
55%?
For 2 years. Only 55.
Mr. Bridal Crew will be only 55%. You can accommodate that, can you?
Well, Evans, like I kept on saying this afternoon with them, our job was to, pray on them to allow negotiations to go on. The details of it is very technical. As I speak, I can't commit any party to any figure. But because it's negotiation, they have put out something. And I'm sure the government side, in good faith, will also look at figures, will look at all other factors. So I am very optimistic that looking at the fact that there is an arm of government that in terms of rationality, you can't take that away from them. So I am very, very optimistic, like I keep on saying, that within the 2 weeks, the two of them would come out victoriously for the entire nation.
Mr. Abdullah Yakubu, you remember, and I'm pretty sure that you followed, that government is now under an IMF program. And in that program document that indeed we did on Top Story, government has committed that henceforth your salaries will be determined based on one of the elements is the capacity to pay. 55%. It comes down to the capacity to pay. And many will argue that in this current economic circumstance, 55% is just not within the government scope to pay.
Okay, even so, I would disagree on 2 grounds. First, this review was supposed to take place in December for implementation in January. At the time, the IMF deal was not signed. So if a deal is signed in the month of May and you want it to take retrospective effect to disadvantage us for no fault of ours, we don't think that should be fair. Besides, the IMF indicated that there should be a limit in terms of wage increases. They didn't say there should not be wage increases at all. There should be a limit to that. And if you look at staff of the judicial service, our number is not that much. We are not up to 8,000 people, workers. So it is something that government should be able to accommodate, especially when that is going to be for a 2-year period. The public sector workers who are more than 300,000 have had 30% increase in theirs for just 1 year. We should have been asking for 60% for the 2 years.
I mean, you're going into a negotiation. It is a negotiation because there's an expectation that parties must come willing to give something, to make concessions. What are you willing to give to get a deal? 55% is what you said, but are you willing to give in something, to make some concessions around that?
If you look at the economic situation we find ourselves, and if we are going to be sincere to ourselves and pay living wage, instead of the current wage scheme that we are having, we should have been expecting something higher than that. Look at the inflation, how it has gone up to 50-something and came down to 40-something%. And remind you, when inflation is coming down, it doesn't mean that prices are coming down. It simply means the rate of increase in price is dropping, but not prices coming down. So the situation we find ourselves in, the real volumes of our money is not the best. So when we get to the table, we'll look at what will happen there. But at the moment, we want to stick to the figure that we have proposed.
Thank you, sir. That is Abdullah Yakubu. He's a JUSAC General Secretary. Earlier, you had the Deputy Employment Minister there, Bright Rokubobe.
Well, let's talk about some other stories now, Evans. And tonight, minority in Parliament is demanding a totally new budget from the government, insisting content of the 2023 budget cannot be relied upon following agreement with the IMF. MP for Tamale South, Haruna Idrisu, tells Joy News that is the short step to economic recovery. President Akufo-Addo last night admitted the program does not mean an immediate end to current difficulties. He, however, pointed out that it will help restore confidence in the economy and that government will be disciplined in its implementation.
Access to the IMF facility will not spell the immediate end of the difficulties we are in presently. But the fact that we've been able to negotiate such a deal sends a positive message to our trading partners, creditors and investors a positive message that will be underpinned by the discipline, hard work, and enterprise with which we execute the program. It should lead to the restoration of confidence and the reopening of avenues that have been closed to us this past year and a half. It should also lead to the resumption of many of the infrastructural projects. So we all deserve to be reassured that the crisis was not used as a cover for corrupt practices. The COVID health recovery levy that was introduced to help fill some of the expenditure holes might not be the most popular tax, but I entreat all of you to bear with us.
Well, we can hear from former Minority Leader Haruna Idris, who is of the view that drastic measures ought to be taken if government is really committed to reversing the downward turn of Ghana's economy.
Ghanaians should not have any huge expectations of President Nana Ansah and his promises on getting the economy on track. Probably he himself doesn't even appreciate the magnitude of the problem he has created. He's done irreparable damage to the Ghanaian economy, to private enterprise, to industry, and it will linger on for the next 4 to 5 years. I heard the president earlier speak on other opportunities open to the country, including the fact that we may be able to access the international capital market. The president owes Ghanaians a certain truthfulness, and he must speak with candor. It is not possible under the program signed by them, 2024, 2025, 2026, Ghana will not, and I repeat, will not be able to access Eurobond, is 0.000 until 2027. The $600 million US dollars, which by end of year will be increased to $1.2 billion US dollars, is a drop in the ocean. The 2023 budget and financial policy of Nana Ansah Kwao is this morning between a storm and a rain. It's been rain off. The Hausa people will say, budget 2023, Yamutu.
That's the former Minority Leader Haruna Idris. Well, if you listened to the president last night, the fellow Ghanaians update, many people heard about the COVID-19, the crisis is over, officially announced, over and all. Mm-hmm. So many were expecting to hear the president say that that's the end of the payment of COVID-19 levy. But we heard him say that we ought to bear with them on this, so it doesn't look like we're going to stop paying it now. Well, the North Tongue MP, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, is not enthused about this particular announcement. Listen to him asking or wanting the total scrapping of the electronic and the COVID-19 levies altogether.
Unconscionable and a total betrayal for President Akufo-Addo to lift all the COVID restrictions and fail to take away the COVID-19 levy. It's absolutely incongruous. It's a height of insensitivity. Look at the plight of Ghanaians. And then also, I expected that the address will take away the e-levy. The president should have announced that he will be discontinuing with the e-levy, especially as everybody knows that the promise they made to the Ghanaian people was that e-levy will help the government stay away from the IMF. Now you have implemented the e-levy and you have gone to the IMF. You cannot have it both ways. Leadership must be trustworthy. The people should have confidence in your word, in your assurances. I mean, the president cannot continue with this duplicity, with this, clear, if you like, disregard of the interests of the people, and he cannot continue to take the Ghanaian people for granted. This is total deception. How long will President Akufo-Addo keep just deceiving the Ghanaian people? I mean, as a leader, the people should trust your word. When you say that you are introducing a COVID-19 levy to help us go through COVID, Ghanaians, despite all the pain, the hardship, the anguish, for many countries across the world, there was no imposition of a levy.
North Tong MP Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. Well, my colleague Kofi J. Menta joins us in studio. Let's walk down memory lane to when exactly this COVID-19 levy, health recovery levy, was introduced and issues that led to that. Kofi, walk us through it. Where exactly was it introduced?
Right, so MFA Parliament enacted the COVID-19 health recovery levy in 2021 to impose a special levy on the supply of goods and services and imports to raise revenue to support COVID-19 expenditure and other related matters. The rate was 1%.
Okay, let's talk about the revenue generation. What really have we been able to rake in when it comes to that?
So in 2021, when it was first introduced, it was expected to rake in 889 million cedis. At the end of that year, provisional outturn was 776 million cedis. And in 2022, projected revenue was 1.1 billion cedis. This year, 2023, we are projecting to rake in 2.5 billion cedis. So if you do the math, right from inception till now, expected revenue has gone up by 188%.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Kofi. But it doesn't look like we're going to stop paying it anytime soon, even though COVID-19 is no longer a national health crisis.
You're still live here on News 90s on Joy 99.7 FM. And let's do some politics now, MFA, because as you know, there is some controversy brewing ahead of Parliament's resumption. The National Democratic Congress is tonight fighting the Attorney General following his letter to the Speaker of Parliament asking him to declare the Senate seat vacant to allow for a by-election in light of the recent Supreme Court judgment. The court ordered Parliament to expunge James Echikwesi's name from its records after he found that he failed to renounce his Canadian citizenship at the time of filing his nomination forms to contest the polls. Minority Leader Dr. Kesela Toforsing disclosed the letter from the AG during the vetting of Chief Justice nominee Justice Gertrude Tokono.
The letter from the Office of the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice. The letter was addressed to the Right Honourable Speaker, Parliament of Ghana, Accra, and I was copied as the Minority Leader. The third paragraph in the second page reads, the effect of this judgment of the Supreme Court is that the election of Mr. James Echikwesi as a Member of Parliament for Asen North constituency is unconstitutional, null, void, and of no legal effect. The final order of the Supreme Court for Parliament to expound the name of Mr. James Echikwesi as a Member of Parliament for Asen North means that Parliament is to completely remove any record relating to him as a Member of Parliament, and implies that a vacancy has occurred in relation to that Asen North constituency. My question is, what are your views about it?
I will not be able to give you my views on what the Attorney General has said.
So, can I put it this way? The Attorney General, in his view, has explained the meaning of your faith relief. Do you agree with the Attorney General's meaning to the faith relief as in your judgment? Or what is the meaning of the faith relief in your judgment? The faith relief says that finally, Parliament is ordered to expunge the name of the first defendant, James Echikwesi, as a Member of Parliament for Asen.
That is what it means.
Let's bring in the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Gbande, joins us on the line now. Mr. Gbande, thanks for your time here on News Night. As we speak, I know you've been in touch with your colleagues in Parliament and or your lawyers as well, as far as this is concerned. Do you have an update on whether or not you've received the document you've been requesting for?
Thank you very much, Evan. As we speak today, we have no information about having received copies of a written judgment. And that is our worry and our fear that the Supreme Court is in bed or suspected to be in bed with government to perpetrate travesty of justice and unfairness against the Honorable Member of Parliament for Asen North. Here it is that the Supreme Court gave an oral judgment as to whether that is wrong or right. It may not be illegal, but particularly in a case that attracts high political interest for the Supreme Court to give a judgment, fail to deliver written judgment to parties to ensure that they can avert themselves to reasons of the Supreme Court, in other words, either to seek redress or not. They've tied the hands of this person, and the executive arm, through the Attorney General, is busy running, with the orders of that same judgment that none of us have copies to, which is in itself is a bad exercise of the power given to the Supreme Court. It goes to reaffirm the public fear that the executive, as far as His Excellency Nana Ansah Kwao IV is concerned, is packing party people or people who are his allies in the Supreme Court to perpetrate things like this against the opposition. And that is why the people of Afrin North yesterday, undertook a vigil to demonstrate their displeasure about some of these things.
So you're displeased, but the fact that the document isn't available, I mean, as far as the courts are concerned, this is not new. It's the courts have sometimes delivered the judgments, and then it takes a bit of time to get the full judgment documented and handed to the lawyers. This is not new in as far as the jurisprudence of this country is concerned. The suggestion is, because we know that, why is the party and the minority making this appear as if there is some conspiracy deliberately to prevent the party or the individual in question, James Atuquestion, from actually filing a review if he wants to?
Even as much as it may not be illegal and it may not be for the court to engage in such an activity, does not in itself validate the appropriateness of what they are doing. It is a bad exercise of the power given to the Supreme Court. And it further creates the fear of the public that, to the largest extent, the highest court of the land is engaged in a wrongful exercise of the power that the Constitution of Ghana gave to them. What is not illegal is not always appropriate. And as far as this matter is concerned, the Supreme Court has acted in a bad faith. Their decision to withhold or hold on to a written judgment while knowing that the defendant has 14 days to seek for review or other redresses, and at the same time failing to give him copies that becomes the basis upon which he can seek redress, is just amounting to tiring his hands and his back. And so he can do nothing about it. Whereas you have allowed the executive to write to Parliament seeking to enforce the same orders of the court. That is wrong. That is not appropriate. That is wrongful exercise of power. And I think the Supreme Court is not acting, in good faith as far as this matter is concerned.
I mean, you said they've allowed the AG. I mean, they just simply delivered a judgment, and the AG is acting on that judgment.
It is like if I start holding my hand and asking one party to be hitting me whilst I cannot talk. You've tied the hands of the Honorable Member of Parliament and given the Attorney General the leverage to be hitting him legally, whereas he's helpless, and that we should not speak about it. That is wrong. We live in an era of rule of law.
But Mustafa, the man himself, James Atuquestion, issued a statement in which he says he's letting this go. He had no interest in filing it for a review because it's leaving it to the conscience of the public.
Even we have issued a statement and have indicated that much as we respect the decision of the court, we would want to have to appreciate the reasoning of the court so as to advise ourselves. As we speak, the defendant has 14 days within which he can seek for review.
But he said that he said he's not pursuing that review.
It is not about him. The fact that the defendant is reluctant or is saying that he's letting it go is not enough for the Supreme Court to exercise its power in bad faith.
No, but Mustafa, what's the point you're making? The point is, if you deny him the written judgment, he won't be in a position to file an appeal if indeed, to go back to the Supreme Court for a review, if he so chooses. once the man himself had stated that he's not interested in asking for a review, doesn't that make that point moot?
Does that in itself warrant the Supreme Court to sleep on its mandate to exercise its powers in good faith? This is clearly an act of travesty of justice, that you are denying the man an opportunity to seek for redress whilst giving the Attorney General a leverage to be running at the back of the same judgment.
But if you take away the potential for a review out of the equation, which the man himself has categorically stated, where's the travesty here?
We cannot situate the context of fair delivery of justice at the back of whether or not a party is interested in pursuing or not interested. The party, as far as NDC is concerned, have indicated in our readiness to review the reasoning of the court. What is preventing the court from giving us a written judgment all this while? The NDC is a party to this because we presented him to Parliament, and government and the judiciary is doing everything possible to deny the people of Asin North a fair representation in Parliament. And so if you have given a judgment, you should as well give us a written judgment and complete the process.
Let me clarify. Did you say that the party plans to file for a review?
I'm saying that, Evans, nothing should stop the Supreme Court from giving a written judgment. What was the rush for? If they were not ready to give a written judgment? Who was chasing them? Who was on the neck of the judges? What caused them to give a hurried oral judgment when they knew that the written judgments are not ready? Are they being political in this matter? Do they have an interest that does go to confirm the public fear that they are in bed with the executive and the government to perpetrate injustice?
Mr. Bande,
these are the questions that we're asking.
And
that the justices of the court, the Supreme Court, must know that they must exercise their powers in good faith, such that the public criticisms will not come at them. Much as they would want to hold individuals for contempt, they should not hold the public to contempt of their exercise of the law.
Quick question on the related matter, if you don't mind, very briefly. For the Asin North primary that I understand that the party may be considering. First of all, confirm for me if you are planning a primary to elect a candidate and whether or not the party wants James Atuquason to run again once the by-election comes around.
We have stated that on any occasion that the decision of the court and Parliament goes ahead to declare that seat vacant, the NDC will not hesitate to represent the honorable member to contest on the ticket. Whether or not we still stand by that decision, as we speak, the Parliament of Ghana has not declared that seat vacant, but MPP is already running in that constituency as if a date has been fixed. Are they aware of something that we do not know? Does that suggest that they have some information, through these shadow judgments of the court and the fact that we don't have copies of the judgment? Are they privy to some information that we are not privy to?
So James Atuquason is the party's preferred candidate for...
He is the party's preferred candidate. He's a preferred candidate of the people of Asin North.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. So listen to News 90 on Joy 99.7 FM. And I'm looking forward to MFA going to Nigeria because a very interesting sound bites from today's ceremony to usher in the new president of that, our big brother in Nigeria, because it's certain Muhammad Buhari. I mean, telling us the character of Nigerians that he supervised as president himself.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow to fly to my base and go back to my cows and sheep, which are much easier to control than fellow Nigerians.
Look, if you're a Nigerian yourself and you're resident in Ghana, you had that. I really am looking forward to hear from you on this 055-111-1997. And George Yafe is here. George, what was the last time you went to Nigeria?
Oh, that's a long time ago.
I haven't been. I'm looking forward to going.
That's Lagos. And the place
going
has
to Lagos
changed,
and Abuja. I have a few friends there.
Yeah,
I want to
Victoria
visit.
Land, Port Harcourt.
Yes.
Lovely place.
Lovely place. And then you listen to Mama Buhari and then you wonder.
Agwagwa is listening.
Let me see your Buga.
Oh yeah, but that song was that song, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not far from that. Whatever it is that you guys are trying to do.
Charlie, my cattle and sheep are there.
Charlie.
Hey,
but I think that the contest in the longest speech
what did he mean by
was that he's moving on to a more a more peaceful. No. I'm just saying that if you listen to the longer speech, what he was saying that listen, it's been quite a challenging time for him as a president. He's moving to his residence or his hometown
to
concentrate on this.
Don't give it all out. We'll hear it later.
Okay, coming up in business, IMF clarifies tax reviews captured in Ghana's economic program. And U.S. debt ceiling deal could result in support cuts for Ghana. And renowned economist Dr. Joe Abe is dead. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business, Alliance Life and Ghana Pay.
Wonderful. When everything worth doing is scheduled, hitting the stop button on your alarm just in time for your morning jog. That happy moment listening to your baby's heartbeat at the doctor's office. Or an arranged virtual meeting with that big client.
Buy airtime ahead of time with scheduled airtime service on MTN Momo. You can schedule your airtime purchase of any amount daily, weekly, or monthly by dialing *170# option 3 and follow the process. Or simply dial *170*311# for a superb airtime purchase experience. You enjoy 100% bonus airtime anytime you recharge yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today? MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Luxurious, affordable living is your right, and no one understands it better than BOT Properties. BOT Properties specializes in modern residential buildings and commercial office spaces. Our properties include the Equator, a 12-story made up of over 100 apartments near Accra Mall. Other Equator courts, we offer you the deluxe living experience with our top-of-the-range homes, high-quality homes built with style and precision to suit your lifestyle. The Equator Courts is a gated community with 2-story, 4-bedroom detached houses at Ogbojo, East Legon, near American House. Our office complexes include Zion House, Shiashi, East Legon, Zion House, Sofa Line Interchange, Kumasi. Our offices and apartments are for both rental and outright purchases at affordable prices and with flexible payment terms. Kindly contact us on 0257 960 919 or visit botproperties.com. BOT Properties, the new meaning of affordable luxury.
I'm a
dia sambisa na mo. Eti emrantia no mu hwan pa na tumi hwe na mo bodom pe mu ma na yakono.
Eye kwabna.
Na mu hwan so na tumi just mali me ma yene nyina de.
Eye kojo.
En kro, kobre tumi hwe na bodom pe mu sense o yusu president eba. Ayede aban ne do braye. Bo si echi na mo ho ban na sem ma na ho de ne.
Sa,
ani na kudwo nso yusu president chako. Na no ne de e ma wo se wo ye kregen fita. Na watimi asiri bedwo ma na feel you.
Ey kojo. Sa.
Yeah. President Eba and President Chaco. Afedie.
Ya kono natural.
FDIJ Jadi Nkatoyatu.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the IMF has indicated that the proposed tax measures captured in Ghana's economic program are not necessarily targeted at introducing new levies. The IMF argues that the proposed reforms would also look at other administrative measures to help improve Ghana's revenue situation. Dr. Landro Medina is the resident representative of the IMF.
The program of the authorities as it was designed, it has a large and front-loaded fiscal consolidation. This will be done through revenues, revenue mobilization, and through expenditure rationalization. On the revenue front, this will be done through not only tax measures, but also administrative measures to basically broaden the tax
And I wanted that clarification from you, because the perception from most people out there is that the fund program is going to push for tax increases.
There's also another aspect of this, which is when you compare Ghana internationally, the tax to GDP ratio is quite low. So we really need to think, and hopefully in the context of the program we will get there, is to get to a more comparable ratios in terms of tax to GDP
ratio. And that is the resident representative of the IMF, Dr. Landro Medina. Meanwhile, the country representative has also indicated that the IMF program that will be presented to Parliament is just a memorandum informing Parliament about the deal, and it would not be seeking an approval from Parliament for their program. The Institute of Economic Affairs is asking government to create a strong and economic buffer to help cushion the economy amidst crisis. Director of Research at the Institute, Dr. John Kwachi, said this might be the only way that Ghana will help stop heading to the IMF for support and bailout in times of crisis. He was speaking at the news conference to state the Institute's position on the program.
We must begin to build strong economic and financial buffers, including creating a sizable fiscal space, creating a cushion of reserves, creating a sinking fund to support debt payments, creating a contingency fund to cater for economic shocks and emergencies, and of course, building a robust financial sector. These are things that we ourselves, we should incorporate them in. If we had built these buffers, we wouldn't have been hit so hard by these, external shocks. That's exactly what the IMF board is saying. Because our peers, some of our peers have experienced, less, painful, crisis than we have, because they had stronger economic and financial buffers.
Dr. John Kwachi is Director Research at the Institute of Economic Affairs. The country is likely to witness some cut in support from the U.S. government within the next 2 years. Now, this was after President Joe Biden and congressional Republican leader Kevin McCarthy reached a deal to raise the federal government's limit of $31.4 trillion ceiling. There is more in this report.
The deal was needed to prevent the U.S. government from defaulting on its debt and financial obligations from June 5. Reuters news agency in its report maintains that the deal that has been reached will keep the tabs on some of government spending. However, issues about military expenditure will be excluded. The report is quoting one of the Republican Congresswoman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who claims that following this debt ceiling deal, some countries, including Ghana, will no longer benefit from the U.S. taxpayer money in terms of support. Ghana is part of the over 50 countries that will experience this cut in financial support from the U.S. government. It is not clear for now the projects and initiatives that will be affected. Ghana does not directly benefit from loans from the U.S. government, but rather technical support and grants. But at a time when the country needs financial support badly, To help turn around its economy, one is not sure how this will complicate things for Ghana.
And that is the Business Desk report. Now, the Ghana Union of Trade Association is questioning government decision to implement the COVID-19 levy despite scrapping all restrictions. Now, this comes as the President Akufo-Addo pleaded with Ghanaians for more time to keep the tax. He maintained that this will help government to pay the loans secured to finance the COVID-19 related activities. But President of the association, Joseph Obeng, says the situation is not justified.
If there's any organizations or people who have suffered the most of the effect of the pandemic, it is the business community. And that were even made pay taxes on this COVID, which is very unfortunate. There's no precedent anywhere in the world that while businesses are suffering under the effects of COVID, they were still made to pay COVID tax anywhere in the world except Ghana. That's why we are expecting that the COVID tax is a one-purpose tax that was brought to cushion the effects of the COVID. Once we are over it, then of course we should remove it without any excuses. The taxes that we pay here is too much. The number of taxes that we pay in Ghana is overburdening the business community to the extent that we are uncompetitive in the sub-region.
Ghana Union of Trade Association President Joseph Obeng talking about no justification for still charging the COVID-19 levy. Now, renowned economist Dr. Joe Abbey is dead. Joy Business is learning that he passed just over the weekend after a little medical challenge. There is more in this report.
Dr. Joe Abbey, until his demise, was the executive director of the Center for Policy Analysis, a position that he later coordinated remotely in terms of activities of the center. The economic policy think tank basically focuses on economic research and analysis and publications on economic issues. Dr. Abbey contributed immensely to a lot of economic issues and debates at the national level. He was a resource person for some of our major programs here at Joy Business over the past years, and even a guest on our PM Express show. Dr. Joe Abbey also served once as government statistician and diplomat. He also did some work with the Ministry of Finance. Dr. Joe Abbey was 82 years and would have been 83 in August 2023.
And from us here at Joy Business, our condolence to the family of Dr. Joe Abbey. To the stock market, MTN lost 2 pesos at the end of trading on the Ghana Stock Exchange. It's now worth 1 Ghana cedi, 8 pesos. And that is despite the announcement by the telecoms giant that they will be carrying out an offer to offer some shares to its shareholders. SIC also went down marginally and it's now worth 24 pesos. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Back to you and the fine events.
And thank you very much, George, and our condolences to the family of Dr. Joe Abbey. Let's do sports now. Hello, Ms. Bao.
Hello, Evans. And, well, it's to talk about Black Stars defender Tariq Lamptey, and he's been speaking to exclusively to Joy Sports, and he says that he is optimistic in the potential of the current crop of Black Star players to end Ghana's long wait for a title. The defender who featured for the team in the 2022 World Cup believes with hard work and self-belief, the team is capable of winning a title.
To be honest, it's a thing where we always try our best. We work as hard as possible and we go on the pitch to win. Like, we wasn't able to do that in this occasion, but for sure in the future we're working hard. We believe in ourselves and we have to keep going through the challenges, because in football it's never straightforward, or there's always ups and downs, and you have to be able to ride it, and you have to have faith in yourself and faith in the team, and that's definitely something that we have. So, yeah. So football is a very difficult game. It's hard. You're playing against players that are top, world-class players at the highest level, but we believe in ourselves. You have to. And in football, you don't go into any game thinking that you're going to lose. We always have the feeling that you're going to win. You always have the feeling that if you work hard and you prepare right, then you get the right result. So we don't really worry about the external factors. If we concentrate and we do what is right for us, like I said, take each game as it comes, and we're confident. We're confident.
That's Tariq Lamptey. The Black Stars will be in action in the AFCON qualifiers against Madagascar next month, and we understand that Chris Eaton will reveal his squad for that game this week. So we'll wait to see if Tariq Lamptey himself will make it to the squad. He's been speaking to Gary Smith, and look forward to that full interview on the Joy News channel.
Thank you very much.
Now, the family of Assistant Inspector Philip Morte, an immigration officer who was tragically shot dead in Boku, Upper East Region, are raising concerns about his untimely death. Well, on Saturday, friends and family gathered at the Good Church Evangelical Church in Lashibi over weekend to bid their final farewell. And brother of the deceased, Cephas Morte, says the incident was carefully planned and an orchestrated act of murder.
Now, what happened that Easter Monday was not an accident. It was not a robbery. What happened that day was a carefully designed, properly planned, well orchestrated, thoughtfully calculated, and duly executed barbaric, cruel, and gruesome act of murder. And I, Cephas, find it extremely difficult to forgive. Not even with the intervention of Christ himself. And I will not miss my words because I stand on this podium to speak the truth. That is what it is meant to be, the church. I find it extremely difficult to forgive. I will not ask Philip to rest in peace. It is his choice if he wants to rest in peace. If he does not want to rest in peace, I leave it to him.
Pretty tragic story. And you were at the funeral, were you not?
Yes, I was. Pretty sad situation.
Indeed. Let's see if we can cheer you up. And many feeling burdened by this story and the passing of Joe Abe. Let's go to Nigeria because there's been a day of celebration, but some controversy as well. I mean, Muhammad Buhari today, as he attended the official inauguration of the new president, Tinubu, has been saying a few things that has got Nigeria talking. And what is this comparison that he's making between his sheep and cattle
to Nigerians?
The Nigerians?
I'm looking forward to tomorrow to fly to my base and go back to my cows and sheep, which are much easier to control than fellow Nigerians. But I have to reduce their number because I cannot save enough to buy them feeds.
Well. I wonder what he was talking about there, but I guess he made his point. Nigerians understand him. Do you?
The Nigerians will come after you.
I'm just asking them whether they understand. Because I don't. I mean, so maybe
you
they
disagree?
I don't know. I don't know.
Someone who's led a country for how many years and is telling you something. You
the assumption that he knows what he's talking about.
Yes.
The assumption that he knows. But
Nigerians.
But maybe you need to define what the characteristics of his sheep and cattle are. Maybe they are different.
You know how sheep are, like, you know, they conform.
They conform.
Yes.
Okay, but it's true.
They follow
yeah,
the leader. When they say sit,
they
sit.
Shepherd, you know.
Yeah, they always follow the shepherd and everything.
I mean, that's an interesting interpretation.
But how about cattle? Sometimes they are rowdy. Sometimes, but they also follow most of the time.
Heads, man.
Oh yeah, they almost like anytime you see cattle. Sometimes even small boys are shepherding them, and they allow them to do so. But I don't know if Nigerians.
Look, make of that what you will. You can continue the conversation. What do you think he was talking about there when he compared Nigerians to his sheep and cattle? Share it on our many social media platforms. And once we leave, you can tune in, stay here, and listen to That's My Opinion with Nana Ansah Kwao. And he's talking about supply of workers versus demand for workers, part 2. And that's it for Newsnight tonight. My name is Evan Spencer.
I am MFR Paul. Have a good evening.